Hello, creatives. Oh my gosh. Slack. Hello, creatives. So I am in the middle of revising my book for hopefully the last time before I start setting things in motion to self-publish it in September, hopefully. My little vision board here, I'm hoping to have it published sometime in September, and then these are like the title and some of the key characters. So it's my little vision board, keep me inspired and keep me moving in terms of like staying on track with things. So I'm in the process of finalizing things, and if you've been following this journey, you know that several weeks ago now, I hired an editor who provided some really tough advice that was in some respects a little out of left field for me, but there were a few things that I took to heart because they overlapped with some feedback that I had received from beta readers. So, and one of them is to cut the story like in two. And I, at the beginning of this revision, had tried to not think about that and just like work on the revision and worry about that big decision later. Well, now I'm in the middle of the third act out of 5. I have plenty of videos where I talk about how much I love the 5-act story structure. So I'll put one of the more recent ones up here. But I'm in the middle of the act 3, and it's already at about 73,000 words out of what was a 122,000 word document. And while I know that science fiction does tend to run longer, I think on the high end of that word count spectrum, it's about 150,000. The fact that I'm about halfway through the revision and I'm at 72,000, I told myself if I was going to go over that higher end of the sci-fi word count spectrum, then I would consider it. A painful thing to do, but I would consider it. There are a few plot devices that are used throughout the majority of the story that I'm not sure would carry over very well into a second book. Like if the main arc of this story was prolonged into a second book, like there's just some logistical things that I have some concerns about. And then like when the second part of this story arc ends, like if I were to move that to the first part of a sequel, where would I go from there in terms of like a natural flow to the story? I don't know. It kind of stresses me out a little bit because in my mind there is a natural break at the end of this 5-act story structure. There is potentially, like if I absolutely had had to break this story up, if it just got to be too long, if I saw that there still needed to be too much work in the back half, that I didn't feel like I loved enough to be able to put out into the world, there's really only 2 spots where I would potentially cut this, and that's at the end of the 3rd act and at the end of the 4th act. But if that were to happen, I would end up going back and adjusting a few more things. And even that is a very scary thought because there's things that would have to carry over that I don't know would fit all that well. Like splitting this in half, I don't think if I were to split this, that the second half would be enough of a story arc to have a standalone book. Like and a continuation. Like there's more to the story, there's more to this universe, this vicious circle universe. But the continuation of the story, there's not a natural break from what I can see. And that's the hard thing. But anyways, that's my very quick writing update, the dilemma that I'm facing in terms of to cut or not to cut, but I'm not even done with the revision. So I'm going to try to block these thoughts out and just finish the revision to the best of my ability and just create something that I am proud of and I love, and then go from there. Yeah, but I'm meeting with my writer friend and my graphic design friend. She is creating she's creating the cover, and I'm really excited to hopefully in March be able to reveal the cover. So it looks so cool. Like, I can't give spoilers, but it looks so cool. I'm so freaking excited to share the cover with you guys. I'm so excited. So yeah, that's what's up. And if you have any questions, like, have you faced a situation where you're working on a story? It doesn't have to be a book, it can be a film, it can be a play, it can be something else entirely, and you're just at a point where you're like, you've been given the advice of to cut or not to cut, or like any kind of tough advice from a third outside source, and you're just like wrestling with it, let me know in the comments below, how did you handle that situation? And with that said, until next time.